All right, there we go. It's 4:20. I guess that has a couple of meanings. I not really for me, but I've heard. So anyway, hey Russ, we're more on your time zone today, aren't we?
Yes, it's lunchtime.
Cool. Well, I had a fishing charter I was supposed to be doing this weekend, and it canceled out. So I decided to hop a flight to Dallas. So that's why I had to move the call up early.
Oh, what's in Dallas?
Craig's doing one of his events out there.
Okay.
So he wanted me to come be his mystery guest.
Oh,
Who's Craig?
Craig does, well, he runs a thing called Rockstar Marketing, and he's been doing it for, I don't know, probably about a little over 10 years. And he has a mastermind group, and I'm part of the mastermind group. In fact, it's interesting. His group was the reason that I created the whole ACT program.
Really?
Yeah. I was doing all SEO, and I was teaching a lot of people SEO, and I had the same thing. I had the weekly calls, but it was all about SEO. And I knew Craig from, before, and he said, "Hey, I'm running this mastermind group." And he said, "I'd love to have you be a part of it." And I'm like, I'm not really looking for mastermind groups. But I said, "What would be my benefit to joining your mastermind group?" And he said, "Well, we have a ton of people in here. You have over 100 people, and they all have businesses, and they all need SEO." So the light bulb went on. I'm like, "Oh, well, that's a good reason for me to join the group." And he said, "If you join," he goes, I know the quality of your training and, your knowledge." He says, "I'm happy to put you on stage, and you can share your knowledge with the group." And I'm like, "Well, that sounds cool." So I joined, and, he did what he said. He put me on stage, and I talked about SEO and, a lot of different traffic things, and everybody wanted it. He was right. Everybody wanted it. But the problem was, none of them needed it. And I'm like, I'm not selling stuff to people that don't need things. I'm like, I'm not in that business. And when I say they didn't need it, the reason they didn't need it was none of them had anything that would convert. They all had, websites that were upside down. If you sent traffic to them, that's about all it was going to do. You were just going to send traffic to them. They're going to get frustrated and leave. And I said, I can't really help somebody. The people that I help, they have marketing campaigns, and I'm driving traffic to them, and they're making money, and everybody's happy. Like, if your people pay me to drive traffic for them and they don't make money, they're not going to be happy. And I'm like, I don't want to be in a relationship where the other side's not happy. So I said, I can either continue doing this and frustrating everybody, because I'm not going to take them on as clients unless I know I can help them, or I can, step down and just, bow out gracefully. And I came up with a third solution. I said, I came to the conclusion, these people need help. I said, I can build a bridge to get them from where they are to where I can actually sell them SEO and make it make sense for them. And that was when I said, hey, they need marketing. And up to that point, I had never done training on marketing. I knew it intuitively. I'd worked with, hundreds of companies and knew how they did everything inside and out, even back to the days before the internet and my commercial photography business. That's probably where I really learned most of what I teach in ACT, is from ad agencies, because it's the exact way. They follow this process to the T. They don't deviate at all. It doesn't matter what customer, it doesn't matter what industry, it doesn't matter what race, age, sex orientation, none of that matters. They do the same exact process. They do it every time, and it works. So I thought, if I could just take that and bundle that into a magic potion, I'd probably have something pretty worthwhile. And that's what I did. Yeah. So that's where it came from. came actually out of Craig's group. So
Oh, lucky for us.
yeah. So, and I'm really happy that I did it too, because I never really got a lot of gratification out of SEO. I mean, it was like, it's almost like a very greedy part of the business. Because when you give someone sales, it's almost like, you know, giving a monster a cookie. He's going to want milk and he's going to expect it. You know, when I do SEO for big companies, all they want is more. There's never a thank you involved. There's no appreciation. And one of the things that I found throughout all of my years, I always like to check in with customers. Like I'll go back at least annually. Like if I'm doing traffic for a company, at least annually, I will check in with them just to see how I can do better. And what I always noticed in almost every one of those meetings with those companies, their idea of my check-in was to see if I could charge them more. That was never my intent, ever. My intent was to refocus their keywords and get them more bang for their buck. And I know you guys have heard some of the stories about the guy with the water park.
Yeah.
Me checking in with him took him from selling fins, masks, and snorkels to water slides and eventually to water parks for $100 million. So that's why I did it. I mean, those kind of stories are absolutely priceless to me. I've been telling that story for over a decade. People love it. I didn't make any more money on him. I just adjusted his campaign by what I learned from the meeting with him. But it was always funny because in a lot of those people, when I would go into those meetings, they would always backpedal. They would always say, when I ask them how things are going, they would always downplay it. Almost to the point where they were like trying to make me think that it almost wasn't worthwhile for them to even do it. Now, I knew the truth of the matter because I hosted most of their websites, so I could see the commerce on the back end. I knew exactly how much they were selling and, you know, and what they were paying me to get those sales. So whenever somebody would do that, the first thing I would do is say, oh, well, you know, I'm really sorry about that. I think we should shut this down because I don't want you spending money on something you don't see the value in. And boy, the backpedaling, you should have seen it. But I would always approach it that way. And it was just, you know, it was just a cat and mouse game. It's like, I like people that are honest. I like dealing with people that are honest. You tell me the truth and I'm going to see how much I can help you. That's really all there is to my game. And they're just the opposite. So I never really liked working with those people. And when I started doing the marketing training, and it was almost like I was coming in and helping people become the underdog, that kind of thing I really like. So not as much money in it, but that's okay. I made plenty from those guys in the beginning. I'm pretty well set. So
Cool.
anyway.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay, go ahead, Shelley.
One is from this morning. I mean, I'm going to add, I spend several hours a day, whether I'm eating my lunch or 5 o'clock in the morning watching lectures. So I'm a big science person. And I was watching this morning about a couple of doctors were talking about AI coming into the medical field.
Okay.
And who I respected, and they were discussing pharmaceutical, they were talking about pharmacists basically.
Yeah.
So as a pharmacist, their career paths are very limited coming up because of AI. The pharmaceutical companies or the manufacturers of the drugs are going to be replacing, if they're not already working on it, I'm sure they are. They're working on indoctrinating not only the doctors in academia and school, but also in the workplace. And they're also doing the same thing with pharmacists as they go through school and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have them follow an algorithm They're not going to have a say as to discussing alternatives with a client at the pharmacist counter. That algorithm will be in place. They have to follow it or they hit the road. So
Wow.
yeah, scary. So the pharmaceutical companies are going to rule the world. But anyways, they're talking about AI taking over the pharmacist's position in the workplace, taking away their connection to the client in terms of the rapport and talking, and well, maybe you should try this, or maybe you could do that. Because let's face it, a lot of pharmacists are very intelligent and they have sometimes better ideas to bring back to their doctor. That won't happen anymore in the future. So I just wanted to bring that up, that I'm hearing a lot about it all the time. And I'm sure you've seen and I find it completely interesting. And I seen also that there were one Canadian musical artist called Drake. I'm sure some of you have heard of him. I'm not a fan of his, but he's very popular here. And there's another one, The Weekender, or whatever his name is. So AI has copied their voice, both of them. They did a duo with the two of them on a new song, not written by either artist, just different song, written by AI, I guess, and used their voices, and it's out there now. Yeah. So there's going to be big problems for stuff like that, isn't there?
Oh, yes. There's what they call it is a disruption. The AI is going to cause massive disruption.
Yeah.
And it's just like any technology. I mean, look at the internet itself. It's caused massive disruption. It certainly disrupted the hell out of me. I mean, I was just bobbing along being a commercial photographer, making great money. I had a fantastic career that I absolutely loved, and it destroyed it. The internet absolutely destroyed it, or not the internet itself, but technology. It was Photoshop. You know, I did special effects, and that industry doesn't even exist anymore. It's all computer. It's all computer generated. So
I hear you.
I'm very aware of disruption, and it is, you know, AI is no different. It's the newest technology. The thing about it is it's not really new. I knew about AI back in 2006 when I discovered it, and I discovered Google was developing it. And it was kind of shocking the way I discovered it. Because, you know, at the time, that was when I was really, really heavily into SEO. And I had a lot of like secretive processes that I had developed that no one else knew about other than my group. You know, my following, I share everything with. So I gave them a massive advantage. But outside the group, nobody really knew what I was doing or how I was doing it. And I had documents that I had created that were my systems processes. And these documents were for my eyes only. No one ever saw them. Even the people I was teaching it, I taught them the concept and allowed them to take advantage of it, but they never saw my actual processes and, you know, the whole thing that ran my machine. And I uploaded these documents to my web server in a secure folder. And, you know, password protected. I'm the only one with a password. I'm the only one that's ever been in this folder, right? And no one has ever seen these documents. Well, a few days later, I was playing around on Google and I was doing some keyword research. And it was on SEO, and boom, all of a sudden here I see one of my private documents listed in the Google results. And I am like, holy shit, what in the hell? And you know, I was freaking out. I thought that it had gotten out somehow. I thought I made a mistake, and I retraced everything, and I'm like, no, this never hit the live internet. It's like, how in the hell did Google get access to that document? You know, if anyone in the world, I certainly wouldn't want them to have access to it. And I called a real good friend of mine. He's in charge of the worldwide security for the network for the Siemens Corporation. I mean, he's really high up in security. And I told him what happened, and he's like, whoa, he goes, you got a problem. He goes, I'll be right over. And he brings all his test equipment. He hooks it up to my computer and my internet lines, and he's got his laptop, and he says, all right, he goes, restart your computer. So I did that. He said, open up a browser. He's telling me to go to these different websites. And then, you know, pretty soon he says, go ahead and log into your bank account. So I log into my bank account, and I see his eyes getting big, and I'm like, what's up, dude? He goes, Google was in your bank account before you were. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? You know, what are you talking about? How is Google in my bank account? And he said, I don't know. He goes, but I will get to the bottom of it. I'll figure it out. And the next day, he called me up, and he says, I know how they did it. I know how they're doing it. And he said, it's a little thing called safe web browsing. And safe web browsing is a technology that Google developed to spy on people. And they wrapped it in a wrapper of security, right? And they built it into every web browser, not just their Chrome browser. It's in Firefox, it's in Safari, it's in every browser out there, because they got licenses. You know, they developed the software, the technology, they patented it, they got licenses for all the web browsers. And they went in with the premise of, we're going to keep computers and users safe. If you don't have this technology in your web browser, your computers, you know, your users, their computers are going to get hacked, and you're going to be responsible. And you can't get this anywhere else because we have a patent on it. So you're going to have to get it from us. So they had a real monopoly on the whole thing. This was in 2006. So I know for a fact they've been collecting user data since then. And when I'm talking about user data, I'm talking about anything you've ever looked at through a web browser, on your computer, your cell phone, any electronic device. If it was displayed graphically on your screen, I can almost assure you it went through Google's screen door and they saw it first. Now, that doesn't mean that the public had access to my documents, because they were password protected, but they went through Google's screen when I viewed them in my web browser. And that's how they knew where the documents were. They knew the URL to them and the whole enchilada. So again, this is 2006, and this planted the seed in my head of, okay, I know how the machine works, and I know what it's doing. It's collecting data. That was my first clue that Google was going to switch to user experience. From all their other SEO parameters that everyone had gamed all their systems, I knew this is where they were going to move next. And I started publicly talking about it in 2010, telling everybody, hey, you better get ready. This is what's coming.
Why does the user experience, why was user experience the next logical step? I don't see how you made that leap.
Okay, so the first thing they did was on page. It was all about the code, right? And you know how that went. That system got gamed really quickly. I mean, I own that one. That was a piece of cake. And then when they could no longer trust the code, they decided to set that aside and go for popularity. So they went to link building. They were looking at how many people link to your website, and they counted it as the more people it linked, the more value your site must have. So that was their newest transition. And that system was gamed just as easily, if not easier, than the previous one. Now, outside of those two factors, what Google has always tried to do, they've always tried to provide quality. They want the best sites at the top. And, you know, they base the first criteria on the code. You know, how good is the site? How good is the content? How compliant is it? All that stuff. And that was very easy to figure out. Very, very easy. You just look at the sites at the top, see what's common to them, and replicate it. That was a piece of cake. When they made that shift and they moved to link building, again, that was really easy. My first clue to that was all of a sudden one day everything shifted. All the listings were like flipped upside down, and what you had was gone, and they had a whole new criteria. And I started looking and digging and figuring out, okay, what is new about this? Why are these sites at the top? And I started running like real generic searches just to see what would come up. And one of the searches that I ran was click here. I've literally typed click here into the search box in Google. And you know what the top site was? Was download the Adobe Acrobat Reader. And I said, why? And there's more sites that link to download the Adobe Acrobat Reader than any other site on the internet. And I'm like, bingo, it's all about the links. It's whoever has the most links for that anchor text is going to win the game. And I was right on the money. And again, that knowing how the machine works makes it really easy to manipulate. So
where does user experience come in?
Well, user experience comes into back to Google's main thing. How do we figure out what the best content is without getting gamed? The only system you can't game is how do you game the users? And since they'd been collecting all the data since 2006, they knew what the user experiences were. They knew if somebody clicked on something and went to a site and bounced back, they knew that was not something that they wanted to send their traffic to. If somebody clicked on a link and they went to a site and they went to a bunch of pages, they spent a bunch of time, they came back, they knew, hey, that's a good quality site. We want to send our people there. So that's how they built their ranking, their algorithm. Everything with Google is based on an algorithm. And again, the purpose, they have some very, very smart people on their team. And their whole purpose in life is to provide a good user experience, because if you think about it, what business are they really in? They're not in the search business. Search is their lead magnet. The business they're in is selling ads. They're an ad company, and they're a big one. If you guys knew how much money they generated, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking how much money they generate through their ad program. And just like any other ad platform since the beginning of time, the ads, the money you're going to make in any kind of an ad program is based on eyeballs. You know, they used to call it circulation. Like if you had a magazine, what's the circulation? That's going to depend, that's going to dictate how much it costs to place an ad there. How many eyeballs are going to see it? That's how you bought advertising. All the way back to the beginning. You know, I think his name was Randolph Hearst Publications. This guy was like filthy rich because he owned eyeballs. He had publications in every possible imaginable niche you can think of, and he controlled the eyeballs. So he got the ad dollars. That is exactly what Google is doing. They're controlling more eyeballs than anyone on the planet. Now, if they want to keep the ad revenue, think about that. What's the most important thing to them? Money. If they lose eyeballs, what do they lose? They lose money because their circulation goes down. So how are they going to keep the eyeballs there? Quality content. How are they going to figure out what quality content looks like? They started off their algorithm with code. They figured, well, if it's good code, it's good content, we'll go with that. That didn't work for them. And then they said, well, let's go to popularity. If other people think it's good, maybe it's good. That didn't work out for them very well either. So for me to guess where they were going next, it was very logical. They're going for user experience. They're collecting the data. I know they're collecting the data. Why are they collecting the data? To figure out what a good user experience is. To me, that was just like the ABCs. I didn't even have to think much about that. And 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 I was right every step of the way of where they were going to go, because I was very entrenched in the SEO world. So I knew what all the guys were doing to them. I knew all the tricks. I knew all the black hat stuff they were trying to manipulate the results with. And I always thought of it this way. I thought of it as, if I were Google, what would I do? And with that thought thread, I was right every time, because I knew what they were doing to them and I knew what they were going to do to counteract it. And that's how I kept my clients out of harm's way ever since the beginning of SEO. Not once, not ever have I had a client site banned. I don't know anyone else in the SEO industry that can say that. They all did sneaky stuff that always got their clients in trouble. And I always kept mine in the clear, because I was looking down the road one step ahead. It's like the Wayne Gretzky thing. He said he doesn't focus on where the puck is. He focuses on where the puck is going to be. And that's what makes him the best hockey player in the world. I don't know if that's true today. I don't know if he's still the best, but there was a time when they called him the great one. And they asked him, what makes you great? And that's what he said. He goes, I focus on where the puck is going to be, not where it is. Doesn't matter where it is right now. It matters where it's going to be. So that's exactly what I do. I focus on where's Google going to be, not where it is now, because that it moves very quickly because of that. So anyway, that's kind of how I knew, Richard, for short story long, I guess. I'm good at making short
Very
stories
helpful.
long.
Yeah, I was thinking about the Wayne Gretzky quote as you were working on this stuff, but I was curious as to what the thought process was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was it. And, I actually had my team develop a software back in, I think it was like 2011 or 12 when we actually released a functioning version of it. And the software, what it did, it ran on people's computers. And by you being a part of that, your computer became part of my network. The idea was my central server would take control of your browser, and not the browser that you see, a headless browser that just works in the background. Google couldn't tell the difference. It was a browser. The browser would open up Google. It would run a search for a keyword. It would look for your site in the results. It would scroll a couple of pages down and it would click on your website, basically sending a signal that this site is getting clicked more than any other site, which would push your rank up. And that was the first version of it. It was kind of rudimentary, but that was the signals that I had discovered that were pushing things up. It was click-through ratio. Google knew that in the top 10 results on a page, they knew that if all things were equal, 34% were going to click on the number one listing. And basically 75% were going to click in the top 3. The next highest click was number 10. And my logic to that was, if somebody scrolled to the bottom, they had a choice. They were either going to click or scroll back to the top and do it again, and clicking the bottom link was easier. That's why number 10 got more clicks than 4 through 9. But 75% went to 1, 2, or 3. And they knew the ratios. And that told them what quality was. So that told them which one belongs at the top. So if I could take like number 4, 5, 6 and get them more clicks than number 3, I was going to take the number 3 spot instantly. And if I could get more than the number 2, I was going to take that spot. And if I could get the most clicks, I was going to hold the number 1 position. I knew that. That worked for a long time. And that probably worked for almost 5 years. That system kept my customers at the top for 5 years. And then it started to decline. It was like what we were doing wasn't working as well. It was still working, but it wasn't working as well. And that's when I started looking at the stats again. And I figured, okay, what's different? It was mobile. Google started paying attention to mobile, and all my clicks were from PC. So that's when we redeveloped the software, made it mobile friendly, made the software run on Android, and we had iOS for a while, but they were too much of a pain in the ass, and it was too small of a percentage of our network to continue. So it's all Android now. But what the software, it got more sophisticated. As time went on, Google got more and more sophisticated with their algorithm. They weren't just looking for clicks. They were actually looking for what happened on the other side of the click. And they also, another thing I noticed, and you can verify this today, if you run a search for almost anything, you're going to see the sites at the top are all big brands. Almost exclusively. Like if you run anything for anything to do with home repair, you're going to get Home Depot or Lowe's or a big manufacturer. You run almost anything that you want to purchase as a consumer product, you're going to see Amazon links at the top, right? Big brands dominate the top. So what does that tell me? That tells me that more people are searching, putting those brand names in the top, telling Google exactly what they want. So that naturally got melted into my machine. So now if you type in the keyword, the machine types the keyword in, and it does everything just like a human does, including it randomizes the time between keystrokes. It's not like it copies and pastes. That Google could tell that's a machine working. Mine looks exactly like what you would do. The time between keystrokes is randomized. It makes spelling mistakes. It backspaces. It fixes them. It does everything you do. I guarantee it. Every human behavior that we do is replicated in this thing. And it runs the search. If it doesn't see your site at the top, guess what I made it do? I made it bounce back to the search bar, telling Google, you didn't give me what I wanted. And then we add the brand. So we add the little guy's brand. That's almost impossible for you to do as a small company, is get people to understand your brand and search for it. But that's what the machine's doing for you. And now your site's almost always going to come up at the top if you put your brand name next to the keyword, because who else belongs there for that, right? So enough searches for a keyword and a brand, and you can actually train Google's AI for who belongs at the top. And that's basically where I'm at now. That's what the machine's doing now. And then once it clicks, it actually goes through, it pulls up your page, it inventories your internal links in your site, and it puts them into a lottery, and it randomizes them. And it just clicks on a random link in your site, visits that page, does the same thing 3 or 4 times, ultimately landing on your contact page and then closing the browser session. And the reason we close the browser session is that's the ultimate signal to Google that you got what you wanted. You came to them, they gave you a good user experience, you got what you wanted, and you're done. That's the best thing that you can show Google as a user experience. And we're feeding those up on a minute-by-minute basis for our customers doing that. So it's pretty cool stuff. All right,
John,
Jason.
John, if I may, on that, to complete that, the Google, at least locally here, and I've not heard anybody else yet speak up that their Google searches are doing the same thing, but Google is, at least here in the Denver area, is no longer putting 10 listings on page 1. It scrolls down like Facebook or YouTube did. And so now there's typically, before the scrolling stops, there's anywhere between 70 and maybe 90, 75 to 85 in that area.
Yeah.
And half of all the listings on page 1 now are non-organic. They're Google's paid ads. There's question and answers. There's the Google Maps. half of it is all paid advertising going to Google, which is where they obviously are wanting to go.
Yeah, that's what
And
it's
I've gotten the old thing. I've got a number of emails recently, which you say are never true, is the SEO is dead. And I'm going to say, I'm looking at, well, I don't think it's dead, but boy, it's on, it's got, it's not very steady on its feet right now. And it looks to me like you can game Google Maps using the site pop. And I'm thinking that SEO, organic SEO, isn't dead, but is mortally wounded. And it looks to me like Google Maps is actually going to be the new organic listings that you can work with to and I hate using the word game the system, because your system really doesn't game the system. It gives Google what it wants, but we'll use that term for right now because it's in-house and we're not talking to anybody else that doesn't know about site pop.
There's no better way to game the system
Yeah, that's
and give the system what it wants.
That's right. But so it looks to me like the new SEO is that organic is badly hobbled, and what comes up ahead of the organic is the maps. So if you can manage the maps is the new SEO, not so much organic. Would you agree with that position?
It depends on the keyword. Maps don't come up for every keyword. Maps come up when Google detects it's a local intent search. So if you're a local business, then yes, maps are very important. And the idea of the thing scrolling and not just having 10 on the page anymore, yeah, that happened a while back, and we had to reprogram everything for that because our software was out of sync with it. So now we're back in sync, obviously, with it now. But the idea that a lot of the page is not organic anymore, there is a good chunk of it that is paid. You've got paid ads at the top, you've got paid at the bottom. You've got different carousels, shopping carousels, all kinds of stuff. And it depends on the keyword. Google has figured out intent. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to figure out the intent of the user. So if the user if they can predict the intent, they can provide a better user experience, right? So they're predicting, are you doing a local search? Oh, well, we're going to give you maps. Are you doing a consumer-based product search? We're going to give you product carousels and shopping results. They're just trying to provide the best user experience so they can retain the eyeballs. Now, the thing that you were talking about is like the questions and answers. They have found out by people's search patterns and habits that most people have questions. And if they can get their questions answered right there, they can retain them. The longer they retain them in their property, like they don't ideally want to send people to your website, right? They do it because they have to stay in business. But the longer they can hold those eyeballs, the more money they make. So by figuring out the intent that people want questions answered, why don't, from a Google perspective, I would be thinking, why don't I answer their questions? Why don't I keep them here and hoard that traffic? It's my traffic anyway, right? You get it as a gift. They are using every one of you to provide content so they can get eyeballs, so they can make money. So it's a give and take. Yeah, you're being used, but they're letting you make a little bit of money in the process. If you're savvy, if you're a good marketer and you can make money off traffic, that's your gift. They're giving you a gift for you giving them a gift. To them, your content, your good user experience is a gift to them. The gift to you is they're going to give you an opportunity to make some money off of it. Right? Now, the question answer stuff, all that stuff that you're talking about, we call that position 0. Like in organic, we talk about position 1 through 10 typically, because that used to be, and like you said, it's now like 70. It's 1 through 70. That's organic, but there is a position 0, and that position 0 is what we call the Q&A box at the top. And I did probably 5 or 6 years ago, I did a whole training and tutorial on how to game that system. So if you want to know how to get your stuff in the Q&A boxes at the top, you can go and, that's in the traffic training. And I have a full training on that, on how to do that. It's not new. I did that at least 5 or 6 years ago. And no, not much has changed either. The reason they put the Q&A in there and the how to get into it, all pretty much the same. So
is the Q&A really a valuable position in terms of actually getting, I mean, does it actually get the people who go through the effort of getting position 0? Is it worthwhile?
I can tell you intuitively, yes, based on my own behaviors. Like when I search Google, I spend a lot of time in the Q&A, and usually when I find something of interest, then I click through and I go to that website. Very rarely do I literally click on anything in the organic listings anymore. And I got to think that I shouldn't say I'm probably not different than most people. I probably am, but I got to think that most people are doing the same thing because it's right up, it's front and center, it's in your face, and it's answering questions that you want to know. So I got to think that it has a higher propensity to get you to click than scrolling down. Think about it. Scrolling down is hard. What's in front of you, and you guys know how lazy I am. When I say hard, it's a scroll, right? That's hard. That's work. I'll do anything to get out of work, even if it's as simple a thing as scrolling a page. And when that comes up, they're making it easy for you. They're saying, hey, here's what we think you want. Did we get it right? If not, you scroll and they know they didn't get it right, so they might change it. If Google gets enough signals, like if nobody clicked on the Q&A and everyone scrolled past, they know all we're doing is causing our viewers an annoyance. Let's not do that. Let's not lose those eyeballs. They put
Well, if you click on a Q, if you click on the Q&A more than once, it expands the Q&A, I've noticed.
Correct. Why would it do that? It's trying to give you what you want. It knows damn well if you click in the Q&A, you got questions. And if you didn't get the answer to the first one, hey, let's give you some more answers. Right? Totally intuitive, right? Am I crazy in my thought process?
No, I mean, I think that most of this stuff is pretty well documented. And I think that I don't think that organic SEO is dead. I think it's particular to like the topic, right? And
yeah, exactly.
And the more specific and the more clear you can make your site, that creates a good user experience. And Google's also monitoring how long you spend there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot more into that. I do want to though ask a quick question.
Sure.
I had a question I couldn't answer, and the question was, who owns the copyright to AI chat GPT output?
Gotcha.
And I Googled it, and there's chat GPT says they own it, and then you have a right to use it. But my question, I guess, is more future looking, like, where do you think this is going to go?
Gotcha. Yeah, we actually had this very conversation a while back, probably a few weeks ago. And I did the same thing. I Googled, or I went into Chat GPT and I said, who owns the copyright for your output? And it told me basically what you learned. It owns its own copyright to all things that it generates. Now, that said, it is giving free rein as far as a license for how you can use it currently. They could change that at any time, but the whole copyright issue, there's not very much real unique thought, right? Most of us are taking something that's already existed and we're putting it on our own words or whatever, and that's basically what it's doing. It's taking knowledge that's already there. So technically, it's taking our copyrighted information using it and spitting it out again. We're taking its, using it, spitting it out again. So there's no, that I know of, there's no precedent law cases that really clearly define this. Now, if they came out and they said our stuff is copyrighted and you can't use it unless you pay for it, that would kill probably 95% of their usage. And they're trying to get mass adoption. So that's not in their best interest. Again, thinking back to the, what's behind it? Why are they doing what they're doing? Just like Google, they're trying to get mass adoption for this thing. So they're not going to kill it by throwing big speed bumps in the way. Worst case scenario, let's say at some point they come back and they say, oh, well, you have to pay for the content that we generated. At that point, it's just like using images. Sometimes you'll get a copyright notice from somebody that owns an image that you may have lifted off of Google Images or whatever. And really at that point, you just remove the offending content. Not to say that if, they got really aggressive, they couldn't sue you, but they're, in my experience over the years, I've had a lot of clients that have gotten the copyright notices from using images they found on Google or whatever. And in every case, I've given them the same advice. I say, just remove it, send them a letter saying that you're sorry, you removed the content. And I've never seen anything go beyond that as far as legal action. And I think it's probably going to be the same way. I'm not real concerned with it myself personally. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer. I can't give anybody legal advice, but myself personally, until it becomes a problem, I'm going to continue using it as though there is not an issue.
Cool, thanks.
One of the biggest things that I find that paralyzes business owners is chasing ghosts. Like I cannot tell you how many conversations I've had with clients that are paranoid about something that it just doesn't matter. And I'm like, can you just like call me when there's a real problem? Let's not chase ghosts. And I see that as that's a ghost problem. I don't think it's something really to be concerned with until they give you reason to be concerned.
Thanks. I'll let the client know.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Helene.
I've got a problem. I've got actually the best pain removing cream in the world at the moment. I know that for sure. I've tested it, but I've got a hell of a lot of competitors, people like Voltaren and A535 and all that stuff. and the thing is that I have a lot of avatars because there's a hell of a lot of different types of pain. And so my problem is, where should I focus? Should I, like, if I put in keywords for knee pain, or like there's so many people looking for knee pain or back pain that these big companies have it organized.
Yeah.
What I'm looking for is should I concentrate on things where my product works where nothing else works? There are far fewer of those, but also far fewer people looking for that. And is it better to look for that, even though it doesn't work as well for things like pain after shingles or peripheral neuropathy, or things that people don't have as much of, but it works, and it doesn't work as well. Like I've got I know that my average pain relief for peripheral neuropathy is only 47%. But if you consider that the average pain relief for any product like Voltaren is 23%, it's not bad. but it doesn't work as well as pain in the knees, where 66% is my pain relief. You see what I mean? So I'm
Yeah, no, I get it. And you had a couple of different questions in there. Let me address the first one that caught my eye was the thing I call low-hanging fruit.
yeah.
That's the one where, you know, a lot of the big guys aren't focusing on it because it's too small for them. Just because it's too small for the big guys doesn't mean that you couldn't really capitalize and make a lot of money with that low-hanging fruit. And I know you said there's not as many, obviously, searching for that, but that might be okay. If you can make money with the amount that no one is attending to, that's easy money. So that's something to consider. As far as the competitors, you know, you've got, I think you have more competitors than you know. And here's the way I look at competitors. Like, let's say, I'll use a chiropractor as an example. A chiropractor thinks that his only competitor is other chiropractors. He's wrong, because what he solves is back pain. And there is a lot of other people solving back pain that are not chiropractors. Like, you've got acupuncture, you've got creams, you've got massage, you've got inversion tables, you've got hypnotherapy, you've got probably a dozen competitors he's not even thinking of. So you may have the same thing. You may have, you know, dozens of competitors that you're not thinking of, you know, chiropractors included, because they deal with pain. Surgery deals with pain. So you got to look at that as, you know, you got a lot more competitors than you think. And one of the things that the ad agencies do when they're in this situation is they do competitive analysis, and they look at, okay, well, how does the best chiropractor advertise? How do they get their customers? And then he looks at, okay, how's the best acupuncturist do the same process? How does the best pain cream manufacturer, how do they sell their products? And they look and they see if there's like common threads to it. And that one review of that podcast that I did a few weeks ago, that was a really, really good example of how to sell a medical item to a very, very broad market. If you remember that, you should probably go back and take a look at that and re-listen to that podcast. I think it was about a half hour, and it was basically them doing a sales presentation on a supplement and they addressed so many different problems with that one supplement. And they did it very, very methodically. And I think for you, I think you could use the exact same approach. You could almost like transcribe that. You could take that recording and put it into Zoom. If you've got a Zoom paid account, it will transcribe it for you. You know, if you record it, it'll transcribe it. And you could build your own podcast or your own presentation with that framework. And I think that would be a phenomenal way for you to, you know, take competitor analysis. The idea with competitor analysis is you're figuring out what works, and then you're making it a little bit better. You're putting your own spring to it. There's going to be a lot of people that follow you and buy you because they know you, like you, and trust you. And the more people that you can communicate value to, the more people are going to know, like, and trust you, and the more sales you're going to get. So that, you know, you get a big following, they're going to buy anything you tell them to buy because they know, like, and trust you. Now, the thing where I can see you're going to have trouble is you know too much. That's a curse, believe it or not, knowing too much. Like, when I talk about SEO, I know a lot about SEO. And if I talk to you technically about SEO, you would go, oh, you'd be like, just shut up, just stop. I've heard enough. And that's going to be what you have to stay away from. You got to keep people out of the weeds. You need to talk about them, their outcome, and look at the way they did that presentation. They did just enough. There was nothing really technical. They talked at very high level about, studies. They gave proof, but they never like really took you into the weeds and kept you there. They just touched on the fact that there are weeds. There's a lot of weeds. You don't need to get into them. Let me just give you the high points, so you know what's important to you as quickly and as easily to understand as possible. And that's what's going to gain you a lot of respect, when you can communicate the value. And there's nothing better than communicating what is important to them as being value. They don't really care about all the mechanics of how it works and all that. You have to say just enough so they know that, okay, this thing does work, but not technically, because I don't think they're going to care. And Russ has the same thing. He sells to a market where it deals with the protection of the skin from UV rays. And, it's the same thing. You got to keep people out of the weeds on that. They don't care about like how radiation actually works. They just need to know that the sun has this damaging thing, and you're in trouble if you get too much sun, and here's a way to prevent that. So, and if you don't, here's something that's very powerful. If you tell them, if you don't address this, like in your case, it's pain. In his case, it's sun damage, from skin, what happens if you don't address that, right? You get cancer. What happens if you get cancer? You die, right? That's like, you're taking them under a bridge and leaving them naked and broke. and that's like, there's a famous copywriter called Cialdini. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's got books and stuff about the art of persuasion. And one of the things he talks about is you need to take your prospect on this journey, this discovery journey, and you need to land them in the pit of hell. He calls it literally the pit of hell. You take them to the pit of hell by describing what's going to happen if you don't. Like, here's where you are. We know where you're going. Let me show you what that looks like. I just watched another one. It was a Facebook ad, and it was because I bought a supplement. I bought a fish oil supplement for my wife. I eat plenty of fish. I don't need fish oil, so I bought it for her because she doesn't really like fish. So I figure, you should get the same benefits I'm getting. Just take the pill and, we're all good. So because I bought that on Amazon, now I go on Facebook and I'm seeing this ad for this other kind of fish oil with a fish I've never even heard of, but I wish I would have recorded it. It was as good or better than that other supplement video that I reviewed with you guys. And where they took you in the pit of hell was having a heart attack. They literally walked you through what's going to happen if you don't consume this fish oil, right? And they said, you're probably already experiencing this. And they talked about generic things that everyone experiences, like headaches. Hey, if you've got a headache, this could mean it's an early sign of a heart attack. And you're like, oh shit, I had a headache last night. Oh crap, I'm gonna have a heart attack. And then he talks about the next thing. And this, he's talking about stuff that everybody experiences. Doesn't mean you're going to have a heart attack, but he's positioning it in a way that your brain's piecing this together like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. And he's literally taking you into the pit of hell. And now he's going to describe what's going to happen next. And you're piecing this together. If I don't take this fish oil, this is what my future is going to look like. And that's going to be the gold. That's going to be in the magic of Cialdini's, taking them to the pit of hell. You have to describe what their future is going to look like without your product. And then all of a sudden you've got the miracle cure, right? And I know you can't say cure, but they're going to piece it together as, holy shit, this fish oil is the miracle cure. They say it. This is a conversation in their head. You're just guiding. You can't say it, but you can guide it. And you can go after a much broader spectrum audience by doing that. That's going to be something that you should really try and engineer, and go on and buy a bottle of fish oil and see if you can get that ad to play on Facebook, because it was absolutely phenomenal. And he really, I mean, he
was that?
The fish oil, it was the fish was actually called Mendenhaven, I think. I'd never even heard of it. It's apparently some fish caught off the East Coast. It's like a sardine or something. And it's got a high amount of this oil that was DHP, or I don't know, something. DHA, yeah. And it's a very, very compelling ad, I got to tell you. And you can learn a tremendous amount from those. You guys should be looking, like, there's advertising going around that is absolutely brilliant all around you. There's no better way to learn this stuff than watching others do it. And think about it, like when you're watching it, dissect it. Like you guys saw me dissect that for you when I did that review. I'm looking at every piece like, wow, what did he just say? Why did he say that? Why did he say?
By the way, John, DHA can be found in grass-fed beef. So, so it isn't, those fish are not that special.
Yeah, see, that's the whole thing. They don't know that. And your knowledge is a curse because they don't need to know that. That's taking them into the weeds. So, and it's natural for you. It feels good for you to like share that information. But in a marketing perspective, you have to pull back and you have to really focus on what's important. Is it important that they know it's in other places? No. All that's important is you lead them to your path of what you want them to do. Keep them out of the weeds. Just take them on that self-discovery journey. Show them what the pit of hell looks like. And Cialdini says, he says, once you've got them in the pit of hell, please don't leave them there. That's not kind. Give them the ladder to let them get out. Let them take the way out of the pit of hell. Don't leave them there. Like I saw somebody do a marketing presentation and they did a really good job of taking them into the pit of hell, but then they left them there. They didn't give them a solution. I'm like, wow, that's not nice. That's not cool at all. But you know, like I talk about creating a villain in the story. And it's the same kind of thing. Cialdini does it a little differently. He takes them into the pit of hell. It's very effective. A lot of times I'll create a villain. And I'm like, okay, here's the villain. And for you to get what you want, you need to defeat the villain. And I've got a tool that I can give you that will help you defeat that villain. It's the same kind of thing. Mine's a little lighter approach. You know, I don't really like to take people into the pit of hell. I just like to say, hey, you know, there's an obstacle in your way. If you really want to get there, here's what you got to do. I'm going to give you the tools and the knowledge to overcome the obstacle and get you what you want. So it's a little milder. I'm like a softie. I'm not a hard-edged guy. I don't do hard sales. I don't do high pressure. I don't like it myself, and I don't do it because I believe you treat people the way you want to be treated, and that's just me.
Yeah.
Not to say that there's not people out there that are extremely effective, but they're hard edged. They're not my people. But not to say that, you know, it wouldn't work for anybody that is that way. I know several friends of mine that are really good salespeople. And, you know, and as long as they don't put on their sales hat, we get along really good. But as soon as they do, it just makes you cringe. Go, God, you know, how do I get out of here? And if they do
So
it too often, you just don't want anything to do with them, and now they're no longer your friends.
So you're saying I should concentrate on the few people who have a specific problem that the cream helps, but it isn't necessarily where it helps most.
It might be your easiest path. Now, as long as it's big enough, and as long as, like, remember when I talk about what makes a profitable segment of a market, the first thing is it has to have enough people to justify your sales goals. So if it does, if there's enough people, then you've got that box checked, so you can move forward. If it's too small and it's just not going to do it, then I wouldn't recommend that. But I think you've got so much opportunity that I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think you could get to where you had a really effective marketing campaign operating in those premises and taking up, you know, the low-hanging fruit. And then once you're comfortable, then you can take a step back and say, okay, how do I take this and sharpen the sword so I can compete at the next level? That might be your easiest path. So that might not make you rich overnight, but it will at least get you making money and get your confidence up. Because it's a lot easier to fight a harder competitor when you have confidence under your belt and you know what you're doing and you know it works. And I think if you follow those formulas, I think you're going to come up with a presentation that works really well. You just understand that knowledge is and can be a curse. Knowledge is great for you to develop products and create the best things on earth. You need knowledge for that, but you don't need that to sell them, right? Look at the most effective salespeople. They know very little about the product. They know how to sell. They don't get into technical stuff. Like you could find a salesman that could sell your stuff like hotcakes, and he wouldn't need any of your knowledge to do it, right? So I know it's not what you want to hear. I know it isn't, but it's the truth. And that's the only thing I'm willing to share with you.
And they're very
Is
much.
it good for acne? Maybe you can do teenagers no, I was just asking.
It's actually it works on inflammation. It'll take away inflammation, so it might help acne, but I've never tested it for acne, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, see that
You could be the granny on TikTok selling acne cream.
See,
Yeah.
that could be like an angle for you to stay out of the weeds, but just give them enough information. Like you could say, you know, 90% of all pain, whether it's hip, back, neck, shoulder, comes from inflammation. Most people don't know that. They don't address that. They don't attribute that, but that's where it comes from.
No, it actually comes from nerves. Nerves actually are the ones that produce inflammation. So it's injured nerves that give you those signals to the brain.
You're too deep in the weeds. You immediately went to the cause of the inflammation. We don't care. It's ultimately the inflammation, right?
No, it isn't. Inflammation only indirectly gets those nerves to send pain signals to the brain. The most direct thing is injury to the nerve, and then the nerve opens up a receptor and that sends pain signals to the brain.
But the
So
first
the
thing
nerves are the orchestra conductors.
But here's what you just did. You raised a way for them to say no, because you just referenced it becoming from an injury. First thing I'm going to say, well, I don't have an injury.
Yeah,
Not
but
talking to me.
I'm talking about injured nerves,
Yeah.
and
But
you have nerves all over
still,
the body.
but still you're creating, you see what you're doing? You're creating a way for me to argue with you.
Oh,
You're not going to make a sale if you've got someone arguing with you. Not going to happen. So that's what you, when you go into the weeds, you create arguments. And I know I know you don't want to believe this, but it's
I
the
believe
total-
you. It's just that it's such a different way of thinking that I
Yeah.
have a hard time going into that way of thinking.
yeah. But
And
if you
that's why
pose it as, you know, the cause of most pain is something that they know what it is, but they're not going to say no, they don't have it. You say it's injured nerves, I'm going to say no, I have no reason that I have injured nerves, right? But if you say inflammation, you go, oh yeah, well I probably have that. I can see I got a little inflammation, and you equate that to like, hey, you know, in 95% of cases, inflammation is going to be a cause of your pain, right? If there's even a shred of truth to it, it's true. If you can say that inflammation has nothing to do with pain, can you say that?
I can say that inflammation irritates the nerves, and then the nerves start a pain signal.
So
But inflammation is only indirectly connected to pain.
that's okay. It's connected. Unless you can tell me that inflammation has nothing to do with pain, then I'm telling you there's truth to the statement.
Yes, there is.
Right? You
But
literally,
it doesn't cause 95% of pain. It only causes maybe 30% of pain.
I bet you though, if you look at it in a certain way, that it probably does, that it exists in probably 90%, right? Because if you're saying the nerve damage causes inflammation and then that causes the signal to the brain, it's present.
Yeah.
Right?
But if you say that 95% of pain is caused by inflammation, it would be a lie.
Okay, well, that's the thing. We don't want you telling lies. So say in most cases, inflammation is present in pain.
Yes, that you can say.
There you go. That's all you need to say. You need to boil it down to a truthful statement that is meaningful for the layman, the somebody that doesn't know anything about what you know. And they can attribute that to, I probably have inflammation. And then you can point out what inflammation looks like. What are the symptoms? And then just like the guy with the heart attack, what are the symptoms? If you can tie a symptom, like he's tying a headache to a heart attack, come on. That's a big stretch, right? But there's a shred of truth to it. And he's taking advantage of that. And he's allowing you to make the connection to, wow, I probably have a situation where this cream is the unique delivery mechanism to fix my pain. That is all they need to know. That's it. That is how you are going to sell your stuff, by clear, concise communication without taking them into the weeds. Right? When I sold SEO, I never once, not ever, did I get into how I was going to do it. They didn't care. Not once, not ever.
Helen, I'm different than John. I know that about nerve pain, and I'm more informed apparently than John. Would you put the link to your website or your information in the chat so that I can go check it out? Because I know about nerve pain, and that's an important thing.
See, and again, that's an avatar. You might have an avatar that has more knowledge like you do. And in that case, that is a different story. You can talk a little bit more in the weeds with them. because that's where they want to go. But your normal average person that doesn't have your knowledge, they don't want to go there. They just want their problem solved. So there's a really good lesson to that.
How come I can't type in the, what's the matter? Sorry, guys, I have to type it on the Word document and copy it because I can't.
Can't type in the chat?
No.
That's
And
weird.
for some reason, oh shit, you know what?
That must be your computer, because I just
It's my, I've probably run out of power on my screen, on my,
on your keyboard.
yes.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time.
I can't believe it.
What was the problem?
My keyboard has lost power.
Batteries out on the keyboard.
Okay, it's QR cream. www.qrcream.com. It's that easy.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, and
What's
it's
the QR stand for?
quick relief or cure.
Yeah, don't say cure.
Well,
Quick relief
no, but
is good.
that's why I put in quick.com, and I'm gonna get rid of these batteries and put some new ones in. Shoot.
All right, let's go to Shelley.
So I'm referring back, the question that refers back to that same ad that we've seen about that supplement. And my question is about, in the ad, they talked a lot about guarantees, guaranteeing the product to do this, that, and everything else.
Yes.
Now, with the new regulations changing what we can claim and, or, you know, on our website, how we, you know, can't claim certain things anymore. How does that change as we move forward to the benefits and or downfalls to making a guarantee for either a product or service?
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, guarantees are a guarantee. You look at a guarantee as a risk reversal. It's like the final objection that somebody might have of you've laid everything out. You've eliminated every possible objection except for this one. What if I'm different? What if I'm not like the other 10 million people that it worked for? What if it's just me? And what if it doesn't work for me? That's your last final objection. And what you do in that case is a simple risk reversal. Usually when a guarantee is put in, they have identified that this is going to prevent people from buying it because they need that risk reversal. And that's the perfect risk reversal, is a money back guarantee. No questions asked. If you look at in the ACT training, I have a section in there on creating an irresistible offer. And the guarantee is one of the pieces of creating an irresistible offer. And there's like 7 different types of guarantees that you can make. And you can make conditional guarantees, you can make unconditional, you can make, you know, in some cases, I've seen some people do a double your money back guarantee. Like if the product's $100, they say, hey, you know, if it doesn't work for you, we'll give you not only your money back, we'll give you another $100 just for trying. Right now, typically, if they're going to do a double your money back guarantee, it's a conditional guarantee that you must have tried it to do that. They're not going to just say, hey, buy it, return it, we'll double your money. That is it's a double your money back conditional guarantee. So it has 2 factors to it. And a lot of times they'll make the conditions to where you could almost never qualify in that case.
Yeah.
But it sounds great. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard something where, you know, they do the double your money back guarantee, but it tells you like, my God, these guys are really confident about this. Otherwise, how could they do that? And in your mind, you're going, oh God, it's got to work. They wouldn't do this if it didn't work. And the other thing too, I talk a lot about Perry Belcher. He's a really, really good copywriter. He's genius in marketing. And when he talks a lot about guarantees, he says, never worry about doing a money back guarantee. He said the amount of people that will request the money back on the money back guarantee is going, the people that will buy it because it has a money back guarantee is going to far outweigh you having to give somebody their money back. He's like, it's like a 10 to 1. You'll make 10 more sales than you would have made, and maybe you have to refund one. So it's totally worth doing.
I
Okay.
also read somewhere, John, the longer the longer the guarantee period, the less likely people are to use it. And I saw one guy have a 1-year money back guarantee. By the end of 4 months, they've forgotten where they bought it or how they did it, because very few people record. Well, I record every single page of every single funnel of every single step and so that I have, not just so I have a record, but I have a whole lot of models I can follow and go back and deconstruct. But nobody else does that. And with a long guarantee period, even if they want to remember, if they do remember that they can do it, they'll forget.
I've been buying a lot of the new AI products that have been coming out, and most of, like, in the past, I never returned anything. I bought stuff to review it, and if it was good, then I would tell the group about it. And anymore, it's like some of the stuff coming out is just absolute garbage, and I'm just fed up with it. So I'm not afraid to return stuff now. And I've been returning this AI stuff like it's going out of style. And I just saw another one this morning, and it's almost like the more you buy, the more you get offers for. It's crazy. But I saw one this morning that was not a 30-day, it was a 180-day money back guarantee. And that goes to Richard's point of the longer you make it, the less likely they are to, like, if you have a 7-day money back guarantee, they're going to be on it. They're going to be like, is this working? No, no, I'm sending it back. If it's 30 days, that's what most people do. Most people do a 30-day. That gives enough time. A lot of people forget about it. But you go 180 or 90, 180 a year, it's like you said, you're not even going to remember what the hell it was.
Would that apply the same thing for a service?
Mm-hmm. You got to be careful in what you're offering as if you're going to do a money back guarantee. Like if they're actually getting deliverable goods that's taking your time, that's the kind of stuff where I'd be hesitant to give them a money back guarantee. Here's where I've seen it happen in a service, like they sell access to conferences this way. It's a 3-day conference. They say, we're so certain that you are going to love and get value out of this conference that if you don't feel that you're getting your money's worth at the end of the first day, you just come up, we will give you a full money back guarantee, and you can go on your way. And that way, you've consumed literally the first day of the conference. But I've seen a lot of those. I have never heard of anyone doing it, taking advantage of that, going up at the end of the first day. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
So they are really good tools for risk reversal, and there's no reason not to use them. But I can't remember what all the variations of them are, but in the training I went through and I dug deep into all the different ways that you could do guarantees, and there's a lot of them. I came up with a unique one when I sell the ACT program. I came up with the shark bite guarantee, and it's a version of the dog ate it. I saw one marketer use the dog ate it guarantee. And he said, hey, if for any reason you don't like this, after the first 30 or in the first 30 days, said, just send me an email and just tell me the dog ate it. No questions asked. I'll just refund your money. So for me, with the boats and the fishing, I said, oh, I'm gonna have a shark bite guarantee. So you just call up, say, hey, the shark bit it. No questions asked. Just refund the money. And you know what? I have never, in all the years I've been selling the ACT program, I have never had anyone tell me the shark bit it. Not once. So
Cool. Yeah, I agree about the services. With what I do anyways, it's, people get their benefits immediately. Other than the hypnotherapy, sometimes the benefits are retroactive, which can take a couple weeks or so to kick in, but I was wondering about that, and I will check out that particular spot in the program. And
You know, here's another way that I've done this, and it can jeopardize a little bit of your time, but I have not found it in any case that it's detrimental. Like, let's say you want to sell somebody on a 6-month package, for instance. And what you tell them is you have to qualify. You can't sign up for this until you've qualified. And the first step is to make you have to make an appointment to qualify. The appointment's going to cost you $100. It's a 15-minute consult. And at the end of the 15 minutes, the consult is for us to discover whether this is right for you.
yeah,
And you can say at the end of the 15 minutes, if you don't feel like it's right and you want to move forward, I'm going to refund your $100. So it really doesn't cost you anything. That'll keep the tire kickers out of the front door. And then you say, if you do decide to move forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the price of the package that we decide is right for you, and I'm going to discount it by the $100. So that just moves forward onto it. That's a really good way to package that.
okay,
And you're risking 15 minutes, you know, and you're almost always going to make that sale. If they
okay,
pay
yeah,
you the
I like that idea.
if they pay you the $100 and they show up for that call, I almost guarantee that's going to turn into
Yeah.
a customer for you.
I really like that, because not every discovery call isn't always, they're not always suitable for what they want or what you're doing. They actually don't
Yeah.
qualify, or they don't apply. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it gives you the opportunity to decide, you know, because you don't want
Yes.
to take on a headache for sure.
Right. Thank you.
Sure. All right.
How
Teresa,
do you spell Chaldinia's name?
it's Chaldini, I believe.
Chaldini. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't remember his first name, but if you look up,
Oh, that's okay. I read The Art of Persuasion, but I didn't, but I don't think he was the author. So I think there might be a couple of people that have used
okay.
that title.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
sure. All right, Teresa.
Hi, everyone. John, my question, okay, so this Saturday, my husband and I, we're gonna do a little, how can I say this? Like a presentation,
Okay.
in Spanish.
Okay.
We have about 20 people, who have already, agreed to attend the presentation. They're mostly from Mexico and Peru. So I want to give them, offer them my service in the future. This one is going to be free. It's just a 1 hour. And
Okay.
we're going to talk about how we can make scarcity into an opportunity. And,
Okay.
and so, we have about 20 people already, interested. So my question is, how can I, what would be the right venue for them to pay me? Do I have to, open up, I have a business account already, but I don't know how would they pay me if they do want my service.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, you can go totally old school and do cash or check.
Okay.
A lot of people, I think you're going to find, don't have or carry checks anymore, though.
Mm-hmm.
So the other way is obviously to take a credit card. If you don't have a way to take a credit card, you can go to Stripe. Stripe is a very easy way to set up credit card services.
Uh-huh.
You can also do PayPal. You can open a PayPal account and offer that. With PayPal, the cool thing about that is there's some stuff that's really not cool about PayPal. But one thing about it is anybody can open a PayPal account, and PayPal will allow your customers to be able to pay with a credit card. through their gateway.
I see.
But I personally don't like PayPal because they rip off small merchants. They steal money from you. And I've had it happen to me. I didn't believe it at first. I heard a lot of other marketers telling me, you know, their stories about getting ripped off from PayPal. And in the back of my mind, I thought, yeah, what'd you do to deserve that? That was always like my question. What'd you do to deserve that? And then when it happened to me, I realized you don't have to do anything to deserve it. They just, they're thieves.
Right.
So,
And what about Venmo or Venmo? Have you?
you can do Venmo, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, basically anything. I think you'll find that credit cards are going to be the easiest for most people. You'll find a lot of people won't do Venmo because especially the age group. If it's an older group, they're used to credit cards. They're not used to the digital stuff with Venmo yet.
Okay.
You know, and that's not 100% across the board, but just statistically, I think the younger ones, if you have young audience, yeah, they'll probably all have Venmo and they'll know what it's all about.
Yeah, I think the age range is from 35 to 50.
Yeah, I think you're probably best off with credit cards. I
Credit
mean,
cards.
the more options that you have, the more sales you'll make.
I see.
Because if, you know, if they do have Venmo and they like Venmo, they're going to be more apt to purchase using that.
Yes, because I don't know, again, Mexico and Peru, maybe they're more familiarized with PayPal.
Yeah, that I don't know. I'm not really in
Right.
tune with the marketplace, but that's where your competitor research would come in. Looking at competitors, what are they taking? And that will kind of give you an idea of, okay, they're probably taking that for a reason.
Correct. Okay, well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sure, absolutely. What I found, like with the internet marketing crowd, when I was selling products to internet marketing into that space, they all love PayPal because they accept PayPal. And one of the things I realized, when somebody has PayPal money in their PayPal account, it's almost like they look at it like monopoly money. They will spend it much more freely than if they have to pay a credit card bill. You know, that's what I found. I found we got a lot of additional sales when we offered PayPal into that market. And, you know, I ultimately paid the price for it because they stole about $13,000 from me.
Ooh.
Never did give it back. And I'm now actually in a class action lawsuit against them. I'm one of the members in a class action lawsuit. They've done this to thousands of business owners. And they don't care. They literally stole the money out of my account. When I called them to question them about it, they said, yeah, you violated our terms of service, and that was a penalty. And I'm like, really? Well, what exactly is the penalty? There's no written penalty. Basically, the penalty is all the money you've got in your account. They're going to take it all. And in my case, it was a little over $13,000. And I got to tell you, I was so lucky because I was using PayPal to pay all my affiliates. And the day before they snatched it, I had just done all my affiliate payouts, which was about $30,000. And if I had not have done that, it wouldn't have been 13,000. It would have been 43,000 they stole from me. I just got lucky. So, and upon calling them, I said, you know, what is this? You know, this is wrong. And I said, I want to talk to somebody about this. And they said, well, you'd have to talk to our legal department. And I said, well, what's their number? Transfer me. And then he said, well, you can't really talk to them without a subpoena.
What?
Yes, that was the customer service that I received over that.
Wow.
They made sure the front door was locked.
Oh, yeah. I even contacted the Attorney General for California. I filed a formal complaint. They, on my behalf, sent a letter to PayPal that PayPal actually responded to. Knowing the law, all they had to do was respond to the letter from the Attorney General, and the Attorney General had to drop it. The Attorney General came back to me. They said, this was the response we received on your behalf. We can't really represent you, but we can tell you, you know, from here, here's what they say. You'd have to hire legal counsel at this point.
Wow.
And they knew that. They have no fear. They know all the way around the whole thing.
Mhm.
They're absolute criminals.
Oh, wow. What about email money transfers, John?
Email money transfers.
Like from your bank account to their bank account?
You talking about PayPal?
No, email money transfers.
Oh, I
So
guess
I mean, I
They're-
collected some, sorry?
They're called e-transfers.
Yeah.
okay. I guess I'm not familiar with that. Most of the stuff I do is with credit card.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we do this a lot over here and there's no fee, right? Other than your bank may charge you $1 to send money but it costs you nothing to receive it.
Yeah.
So, you know, like
a-
Stripe takes a percentage,
Yeah,
which I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. We have
Yeah.
like Zelle. We have Zelle through the banks, and we have ACH transfers, bank to bank ACH transfers.
Yeah. Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of that stuff isn't really integrated into most of the commerce software and things like that.
No.
So
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's
if
right.
you were doing like high-end consulting and they were going to pay you, you know, thousands of dollars, sure, there's no reason with that. If it's just like a one-off transaction, it doesn't take you too much time.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
no problem with that at all. I mean, however you get money,
Mhm.
just get the money.
Yeah. As long as it's above board.
Don't ever say, no, I don't want your money.
Right.
If it's a big enough amount, sure, I'll jump through some hoops to get it.
Mhm. Very good.
Cool. And as far as like serving the Spanish market, I don't know, you know, what you're selling them, but the Spanish market from an internet marketing perspective is very underserved. There's a lot of opportunity in the Spanish market. I wish I spoke Spanish. I actually had a couple of ladies that wanted to sell the ACT program in Spanish, so they converted it for me. And we never got around to promoting it. We had a couple of promoters that were going to promote it for us to the Spanish communities, and they kind of flaked out on us. So here we've got the whole ACT program in Spanish and nobody to promote it.
No, well, I'm a life coach, and I also
Okay.
I teach ESL, English
Okay.
as a second language. So I want to offer both.
Yeah, you could probably do a very lucrative business doing that online, you know, creating an online course, and yeah, that's a great opportunity.
I've been teaching ESL for the past 7 years. So believe me, I have a lot of materials. So right now I'm going to have my class right now at 11 Pacific time here in California. But like I said, I've done it and I have a lot of material. So more than anything, my students' feedback is that they're finally learning the language, and that gives me the confidence to move forward.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I've been an educator all my professional life for 30 years. I even been a school principal, but
Cool.
so yeah, so I'm gonna start my own business, because believe me, right now the schools institutions, they don't pay much.
Yeah.
No matter what you have, even if you have a master's degree,
You
they don't
can
pay.
you can set up like an online thing yourself and have a membership site. And you can charge people monthly, you know, even if it's like $10 a month.
Right.
You get, you know, 1,000 people in there paying you $10 a month, and you know, all the courses are available for you. You could have live support calls like this to answer their questions, and you know, it's a pretty good way to go. If you need help with that, let me know, and I can direct you into how to set that up, do a membership site.
Oh, thank you, John. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else for today before I go hop on a jumbo jet?
No. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, have a great week, and we'll be back. I think we'll be back regular time next week. So sorry about the early call, but had to shift things around. All
Not
right,
a problem, John. Thanks much.
Thank you.
have a great week, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you very, very much for the help, John.
Sure, very welcome.